Pascal. You are now rocking with that dude Pascal. We be going wild, Haitian in the building, so original. Got the haters catching feelings. Get your hands up to the ceiling and keep them held high. Cause St. Louis isn't ready. Forget about it, goodbye. Hold on, we just saying hi. Five somebody, rise up. Weekdays, catch us live. Somebody, let's go.
Good morning. Good afternoon and good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Pascal Show. Hope you guys all doing well out there. Hope you guys are all doing well out there. Oh my God. Oh my God. Hope you guys are all doing well out there, because another day above the dirt is always a blessing. Let's not forget that. All right. We got some things we have got to get into. I didn't get a chance to talk to you guys yesterday. Unfortunately, last night was a very busy day for me, or very busy night for me, but I could not talk to you guys about this. And trust me, I got all the DMs, I got all the emails, I got all the updates, and I got all the stuff that you guys have been sending me about this. Trust and believe, there was no way on God's green earth I was not going to not talk about these updates here. And the question is, did TMZ completely done muck this whole case up? I got questions. This is bad. This is not a good look. That ain't gangster, dog. This ain't gangster. This is bad. We're going to talk about it all and then some. So please do me a favor. Oh, my dear Lord. This case continues to... I'll talk about that in a second. Do me a favor, though, before we get into all this mess, because it's an absolute mess, all right? Hit that like button down below. Crush it, do it, do. Hit that reaction button, please, and thank you if you are watching on these other platforms. Now, if you are watching on these other platforms like Facebook, X/Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Rumble, Twitch, Kick, I'm on all them mugs. So make sure you're hitting that follow button, okay? Also, do me a favor, small little solid, all right? Make sure you hit that subscribe button right here on my main YouTube channel. Go and check out Pascal Show clips, or the Pascal Show clips, okay? And Pascal Raw. Make sure to subscribe over there on those channels as well. Hit that notification bell on all those platforms so you know whenever I go and upload, because honestly, it's random. And a lot of times it's breaking news kind of stuff. All right. So make sure you do that for me. OK, hit that notification bell, hit that join button down below, become a member, check out my Patreon, and of course, check out PascalMerch.com. We got some really great stuff over there. PascalMerch.com. Fantastic clothing and all that. All right. And of course, check out some of my Christmas songs and stuff. Yeah, I have other interest other than just talking on a microphone, making funny voices and talking about the news. Okay. I got other interests in this world. I wrote an original Christmas song. Go check it out. And then last year I did a live performance with a band. It was pretty cool. Go check it out. All right. When you get a chance, those two songs are available to download if you want to on any music streaming site, Spotify, Apple, Apple Music, all that stuff. You know what I mean? So go check it out when you get a second. Just some glee and some good times before we go into this mucky muck. Okay. And I have to hit this button again because there's going to be a lot of this that I'm not going to be hitting this button a lot because I know it gets annoying for some of y'all. Okay. But I have to hit it now because this Celeste Rivas, David Defoved situation has basically gone off the rails. Now, let me just say this. Okay. This is a case. I'm going to keep it a beam with y'all. This is a case that has been trying its damnedest to turn into a circus. Let me explain. From the day that she was found missing, around the time that she was found unalive, okay, when she was found in that front trunk of that Tesla, rumors and the theories and all of that has gone like crazy. Let's not forget the countless breakdowns of songs that he made, of Discord conversations, okay, that were there but then deleted, made by his bodyguard that I guess he's not here anymore. He gone, like he has crossed over to the spiritual world as well. I don't know, but all I'm trying to say is that there's been countless breakdowns of like, oh, these songs could really be about Celeste. Then of course all this other information that has been coming out about Celeste, how she was a runaway, but then she wasn't really a runaway, but then she was again, and then she's missing, but then she's not missing, and then she's missing again, and then she's found at the place. It's been an absolute roller coaster ride with this case, has it not? I mean, can we agree on that at least? Because I already know, everybody's in their feelings. Most definitely, understandably, people are in their feelings about this new revelation that just came out yesterday. Now, I'm going to be real. It's burning my cookies too. All right. It definitely has burned my grits. All right. But at the same time, this is a case kind of like a lot of other cases that we've talked about in the past. I mean, everything from Idaho 4, Sebastian Rogers to Gabby Petito. We have seen these kinds of things just go off the rails. Oh, shoot, let's not forget Emmanuel Hado. That kind of went off the rails for like a blip, okay, for like a blink of an eye, and then it kind of corrected itself back on its track, and it just was, then it turned into them actually being arrested, right? But this is the kind of pattern that we've seen over and over and over again. Let's be real, especially when there's not a whole lot of information about something. What happens? Idle minds is the devil's plaything. It's not really the hands so much. I mean, I know what they mean by the hands, but it really is the mind. Idle minds are the devil's plaything. Or, you know what? Idle minds are the conspirators' plaything. I got to hit the button again. Sorry. If you really think about it, it is the conspirator. It is the conspirator's plaything, okay? Or the conspiracy theorist plaything. When you got no information out there or lack thereof, people run amok. People with their theories and their hypotheses, when they're hypothesizing and everything, they just go off the rails. And what's interesting about it is that not only do you find somehow you find an echo chamber on the internets, but you also get new information that didn't even exist in the first place. For what reason, I don't even know. Yes, Gemini. Yes, them tinfoil hats. Okay? Them tinfoil hats screwed ever so tightly on people's noggins. But here's the thing. When people have time, like I said, when they have time on their hands and there's lack of information, especially on a high-profile case such as the Defovede and Celeste Rivas case, what do you think is going to happen? People are going to run amok. Like the whole situation with Charlie Kirk. I'm sorry for bringing it up because I know some of y'all are like, why do we keep on talking about Charlie Kirk? I get it. It's a mystery, though. That case is a mystery. It is very interesting. All right. Not everything is a mystery. I think some things are very straightforward, and I think there are parts of it that just don't make sense. Right. But the fact that there was not so much information and that there hasn't been any more information since the arrest of Tyler Robinson, right? What happens? You get people getting their Candace Owens ons. Am I right or am I right? Think about that for a second, right? Everyone's side-eyeing the, Erica Kirk and every move that she makes. Everyone's side-eyeing what the government might be doing. If Cash Patel, what eye are we supposed to look at? The left one or the right one? Because they just all skew. You know what I'm saying? We all have the things that we're asking when it comes to that particular case because there's not so much information and we don't feel satisfied. We don't feel completely satiated. Okay. And it's the same thing with this particular case right here. We're not satisfied. We are not satiated with the information that we have received because there hasn't been much information. But like I said in the very beginning, when she was found, rumors were running amok. There are countless videos on the internets right now, TikToks, YouTubes, Facebook Reels, whatever you want to call them, okay, that have all kinds of different theories running amok, revolving around the David and Celeste Rivas Frank Tesla situation. Are they all correct? Hell no. No. But people are consuming them, right? Now, the last people, well, I take that back. Not the last people, but the people that I expect to be on point on their, on their P's and Q's are legacy media or big media platforms like TMZ. Now, this is not a show to try to go in on TMZ. I'm sure there's plenty of YouTube videos where people are going off on TMZ. I will say they done mucked this up. They made a very big mistake. And they need to come forward and not say walk it back, but basically say like their source is trash and maybe they shouldn't be using that source no more. But here's the thing. That source could very well be telling the truth. The source could very well be telling the truth and 5-0 could be lying to us. I don't know, but something about this. At the end of the day, we're hearing from the horse's mouth. So it's a little bit difficult for us to sit here and just ignore what 5-0 is directly telling other media, right? Now, what I'm reporting and talking about here is that just the other day, okay, TMZ came out with this whole thing saying that Celeste Rivas was found in the front trunk of this Tesla. Some of y'all are like, what's a frunk? A frunk is a front trunk in a car, okay? So that's what they call the front trunk of a Tesla, a frunk, just so y'all know. And if you've been following this case, you should be savvy about that word frunk, just so you know. No disrespect, just letting you know. So, found in the front trunk of this Tesla, they say that she was partially frozen. Remember, we all were clutching our pearls. Don't worry, there's another one. There's another piece of information that her head was removed from her body and that her body parts were dismantled. Remember all of that? Now, I'm not going to hit the dun-dun-dun, but that was another thing, right? Which we all were clutching our pearls going, oh, say word. Stop it. Even I was too, right? I was absolutely completely shook. And I was feeling like, hey, maybe my theory is correct. Maybe I got something here, right? Well, maybe not. Because now, as they gave us all that information, which, by the way, even in the show before I said, wait, how is she partially thawed out and another part of her's not? And I'm like, okay, I could see maybe temperatures change. You know what I mean? It's really, really hot. Then it's really cold at night. The shading of a tree could be sitting over the car for a while. But this is a black on black car. Right? The interior is black. The exterior is black. The inside of the frunk, okay, the front trunk is black. So she'd be cooking in that mug. I'm sorry for saying it like that and so graphic, but let's keep it a bean. She'd be cooking in it. So why would she only be partially thawed out if she had been in there for a good while? Right? Just doesn't fully, the math ain't fully mathing for me, at least for me. Okay. Now, still, no matter what, I took what they said and I said, okay, are they telling, they could be wrong. They could be absolutely 110%, because obviously we are dealing with information from a source, from a media source that doesn't get it right all the time. I'm going to be real. They've been wrong before. Okay. They have been wrong before. They have made mistakes. Have they walked those mistakes back? Not so much. I've never seen them go back and go, we are sorry that we made the mistake about X, Y, and Z. The only time I've ever seen them say exactly that is when that whole incident where there was news about Charlie Kirk's unaliving, and you heard people cheering in the background when they were reporting the news, and they were like, well, we are really sorry for you guys thinking that the cheering is something bigger than what it was, because it's not as big as you may think, because they were watching a car chase in the background when we were reporting about Charlie Kirk's unaliving, right? Remember all that? That's the only time that they really kind of try to walk something back, right? And I don't believe them. I still don't believe that. I think that they were cheering about Charlie Kirk. That's what I truly think. Of all things, you got a huge breaking news. Sorry for the left turn, but you got huge breaking news. Massive breaking news about Charlie Kirk getting hit, right? They're really in the background watching a car chase? Are you serious? But okay, that's another conversation in itself. But I've yet to see them actually walk something back and go, oh, lo siento, we made a mistake. We are going to make right. Because here's the thing. Even the likes of Fox News, CNN, ABC, MS Now, I guess they're called MS Now instead of NSNBC. But you know what I'm saying? The likes of the highest, most highly revered periodicals that are out here, New York Times, Washington Post. I mean, just name them all. They've all made mistakes in the past. They all have. They have. But they do sit there and go, we made a mistake. We are here to correct that mistake. So I'm wondering if they ever are, if TMZ is going to come forward and actually say, yo, yeah, we overstepped. Our source was wrong. Our apologies. And the reason why I say this is because of stuff like this. LAPD reveals what cops really saw when Celeste Rivas's body was found in the front trunk of that Tesla, of David's Tesla. Okay, and they're saying she wasn't frozen. Yeah, like I said, I'm not going to play this too much, but I'm going to play it one more time right now. So here's the thing. LAPD captain is now giving us this information. Very interesting, don't you think? We heard from other sources, TMZ, that she was partially frozen and that her body was severely tampered with, severely destroyed. That the medical examiner would not be able to come out with a full diagnosis of how she actually passed away, that they would be coming out with a undetermined as far as her cause of demise. But this came out yesterday evening. And of course, everybody, I understand, everyone scrambled to give this information, which of course is pretty shocking, because TMZ was coming out with this whole thing like, oh my damn, she really was dismantled. She really was, badly deteriorated, which, by the way, that information is still true. That information is still true, that her body was still so badly and severely decomposed that they could not make out if she was a girl or a boy. That is one thing that is true, right? But one thing that we still have not gotten fully confirmed outside of TMZ is whether or not this body was actually dismantled. And then, of course, also, they're saying of course, frozen. Was she though? Because I'm gonna be real. You take a frozen steak. I hate to say it like that, but you take a frozen steak out of the freezer, and I know it's just a steak, right? It's just a steak. But if you take a steak, get it out of the freezer, and just sit it out so it can thaw out, by the end of the day, and that's room temperature, by the end of the day, that mug's gonna be thawed out. So imagine large body being put into a front trunk of a Tesla, black on black on black, summertime, okay, in LA, outside, not in some controlled, environment. Wouldn't that body completely be defrosted? Wouldn't it? Wouldn't it? At least that's what I think in my mind, right? So now we're hearing this because I was like, that doesn't make any sense. It doesn't even matter if the body was in there for several days or several weeks. How would her body be partially frozen? In the LA heat, black on black Tesla inside a compartment. She in a mother-loving Dutch oven. She in a mother-loving oven, for crying out loud. So that doesn't make any sense, right? It just doesn't. Now, I still have a couple questions in regards to them saying that that the Tesla drove out to Santa Barbara and was out there for several hours. Is that even true? Is that even correct? Or is that just fake news? Remember, the very same day, if not later on that day, if not the following morning, when they talked about her being frozen and she must have been put into some sort of deep freezer of some sort, they came out with a whole article basically saying, everybody, look. You know what? Let me find this ish. Hold up. Let me find this. I gotta show it to you guys. You gotta see this for yourself. And everybody was talking about this too. And hold on one second. Boom. Let's see. Yeah. Okay. Right here. Okay. We're not diving into this. Okay. But here's the other piece where they said, oh my God, David's house had a freezer. I saw this and I said, who cares? Every house, for the most part, every functioning house has a mother-loving freezer. Like a freezer that goes with the refrigerator. You know what I'm saying? Even them little mini those mini refrigerators have a little like compartment for like freezing things, like a little freezer compartment. So I'm like, yeah, yay, Hercules. Like, who cares that he has in his rented house a freezer? This has nothing to do. Who cares? Did he not go from home to Santa Barbara for several hours and then come back? Wasn't what you said before that he went over there to retrieve her remains, maybe separate her remains, and then come back home and then parked it on the side road near his house, that he was the multi-million-dollar house in the Hollywood Hills? So you mean to tell me that what? It had a freezer? Shop it. There's no way. I thought you went down to the local store and got one big cube of ice, and just froze everything, kept everything cool with one big cube of ice. Just do it like the old days, the olden days. It just doesn't make any sense. You see what I'm saying? Like, I saw that, I was like, okay, and so who cares, right? That just doesn't make any sense. Here's the other thing too. And obviously this is not real. This is not true. Okay, this is a lie, or this is misinformation. Okay, but here's the thing. He had plenty of people that were walking in and out of that house. No one was sitting there going like, oh man, I could really use a Haagen-Dazs ice cream right now. Yeah, bro, just check it out. It's in the freezer, just go to the freezer. Whatever's, mi casa es su casa, bro. Okay. DeForvida, you my man. Okay. And he goes to that freezer and he opens it up and you don't think he's going to see body parts in that mug? I'm just saying, like, every person that has a refrigerator, for the most part, the regular refrigerator, standard refrigerator, they all pretty much have a freezer in it. So this doesn't mean nothing to me, right? But people were running with it, right? Understandably, it's interesting news, but at the same time, every rented home has a refrigerator with a mother-loving freezer in it. Come on, y'all. And if it had a freezer, like a deep freezer, like inside that house that was somewhere else in the house, okay, cool. It doesn't change a damn thing. Look. I think that's, see? They're like, look, it had a freezer in it. Oh, like, who cares? This is a freezer. It's a standard refrigerator. It's a standard refrigerator. Do you understand? All of them have this, y'all. The last I checked, I know somebody out there going to be like, well, actually, the I don't know, the GE model 74-92 doesn't have a freezer function. Actually, it's just one big refrigerator. Just so you know, sir. Yeah, I don't care. For what I know, every refrigerator that's out there in every home, rental or owned, has a freezer function with it. So it doesn't even matter. Okay? And also, this goes against what they were saying before. How they were like, oh, she was in a freezer somewhere in Santa Barbara. And that's what they did. He drove a couple hours out to Santa Barbara in some remote location and then retrieved her remains and then parked the car out there, right? Several days before his car was actually towed, several days before he went on tour, right? So again, it wouldn't make any sense, this information, right? It doesn't make any sense. Is this a fugazi? Sounds like it could be, solely because of this article right here, right? So let's get into this mother lover. All right. I just think this is ridiculous, but okay. LAPD captain reveals what cops saw when Celeste Rivas was found unalive in DeForvida's trunk. And she wasn't frozen. So Celeste Rivas was 14, which, thank you, they got that correct. Dear Lord, everyone be like, well, she's actually 15. She's not 15. She gone at 14 years old, dagnabbit, when she was discovered unalive inside that trunk of the Tesla belonging to David, all right, in September. And now the LAPD captain is debunking rumors surrounding her remains. So LAPD captain and commanding officer of the robbery homicide division, Scott Williams, tells people exclusively that Rivas was found not frozen, okay, and was not with her head removed from her body, as previously reported by local media. Interesting, right? Her body was not frozen, Scott Williams says. She was not. The whole frozen thing doesn't even make sense. Her body was in the car for weeks. Interesting, right? Williams continues. Even if she had been frozen solid when she was put in that car, which there's no evidence to suggest that she was, 5 or more weeks in that trunk of that car in the sweltering heat in the middle of summer would not have resulted in a partially frozen body being discovered on September 8th. So here's the thing, all right? I agree. It makes sense. Even myself, I was like, wait a second. Because even if they said she was in that car for several days, I was like, well, that doesn't make any sense. How would she be partially thawed out? How could she be partially frozen? It just doesn't make any earthly sense, right? Wouldn't that preserve some evidence? Remember, medical examiner, police are all still scratching their heads right now. They're still going, how did he do this? And what happened to Celeste? And I understand that. We all want justice for her. We're all talking about it, right? I'm talking about it passionately because I want this mother lover, if he really is the one who did this, I want him to go down, right? And anybody else that was involved in the situation. But we got to get the information right. So Rivas was first reported missing from her home on April 5th, 2024. The Riverside County Sheriff's Office told the LA Times. Okay. Now, her body was found in that impounded Tesla in the Hollywood Hills on September 8th, one day after her 15th birthday, while David, whose name is David Anthony Burke, was on tour. How convenient. So singer David is identified as a suspect in her demise. He was identified as a suspect in her demise last week. So that is correct. That is still sticking. He is still identified as a suspect. So they got that part right. TMZ got that part right. But the frozen part, holy cow. A police source confirmed two people at the time. According to a police source, the singer has allegedly not been cooperating amid the ongoing investigation. The police source added that no criminal charges have been filed. Let me repeat that again. So according to the police source, the singer has allegedly not been cooperative amid the ongoing investigation. The police source added that no criminal charges have been filed. The LAPD, David's lawyer, and a rep for the singer didn't immediately respond when previously contacted by People. The singer's representative previously told NBC Los Angeles that he was, quote unquote, fully cooperating with authorities. But this source is saying that he's not been cooperative. If that is true, then wow, right? But this is according to a police source. Is this the same police source that gave that information about Celeste being partially frozen? I'd like to know. In September, investigators with the LAPD served a search warrant in connection to Rivas Hernandez's demise at the home in the Hollywood Hills where he was actually staying, where David was actually staying. Okay, so law enforcement sources previously told People. Her cause of demise still remains unclear. Okay, and of course, we got a statement from the medical examiner, which is also very interesting as well. So on Monday, November 24th, so literally yesterday, the County of Los Angeles Department of Medical Examiner announced that they received a court order initiated by the LAPD to place a security hold on Rivas's case. The medical examiner said in a statement to People, no records or details associated with the case, including the cause and manner of demise and medical examiner report, can be released or posted on the website until further notice. This is what the medical examiner said. The department understands the public's interest in this case and remains committed to transparency when possible. Information will be available once the court order is lifted. And one of the reasons why I think all of us are kind of like sitting at the edge of our seat, not only just because of how mysteriously, how strange this case has been, right? Because this is a strange one. This one is very unique, but also the fact that right now the medical examiner is being stopped from being able to release information about what they discovered in examining her remains. which also, to me, doesn't make any earthly sense. Why would they hold that information? Why would they withhold that information? Why not just get it out the way? Let everybody know what's really going down here, right? But of course, we got to take a look at the medical examiner's statement. And I think this is interesting. Again, we just saw a little snippet of it, but here's the whole thing. So at 10:54 a.m. on Friday, November 21st, the County of Los Angeles Department of Medical Examiner, the department, received a court order initiated by the LAPD to place a security hold on medical examiner case number 2025-14252, Celeste Rivas Hernandez. No records or details associated with the case, including the cause and manner of demise and medical examiner report, can be released or posted on the website until further notice. Again, I keep wondering why. Why can't they? That doesn't make any sense to me. The department's mission is to have full transparency with the community by providing information about our cases to empower people to make changes that save lives, said Chief Medical Examiner Dr. Ukbo. Hopefully I'm saying that right. Since becoming the department head, I've worked on eradicating the practice of placing security holds on medical examiner cases simply by law enforcement request. The practice of security holds is virtually unheard of in other countries or in other counties and has not been proven to improve outcomes in the legal system. Oh, so this chief medical examiner is not cool with the fact that they're trying to stop this information, or they put a stop to this information being put out to the public. So this chief medical examiner ain't happy with this, okay? So they want transparency. They want information out there so that people can know what's going on, right? We are dedicated to serving our community with full transparency. However, the law precludes us from doing so while the court order remains in this case. Like I said, why would they stop this information from being out here for everyone to see for themselves? It doesn't make sense. Maybe because there's too many misinformation, but that doesn't make see that's the thing. We're going to finish this, but think about this for a second. It doesn't make sense why police are withholding that information. Now, two thoughts in my mind that I thought right off the bat. Number one, because they want to hold that information so that they can take whoever's involved down before they try to run or do something terrible, right? Do something dangerous, if you get what I'm saying. That's number one. I get that part to a certain extent. But number two, the other part, I'm like, why? Because there's so many rumors running around. But that wouldn't make any sense. By the medical examiner putting out cause of demise right out there for everyone to see, it would give the people an opportunity to squash and stop spreading rumors. Remember the rumor that she was pregnant? Remember that time? That was cool. No, it wasn't. But you know what I'm saying, all right? Remember when we heard about her possibly being pregnant? Remember that BS? Yeah, that was a thing. That was a thing back in the day. And that's just one small snippet, right? One little flash into the past. Several weeks revolving around this case. There's been all kinds of things, right? I mean, still, people are thinking that maybe she was, sacrificed, that this was all for Illuminati or something like that. I don't know either. I mean, the theories are running amok right now because he's a strange dude. DeForvida is strange. And I don't know if he's strange because it's all part of his persona, right? Because of his brand, or if he's just strange because he's strange. I don't know, right? But the theories are running amok because of his idiosyncratic self. How's that? Unique self. But continue on. The department previously received a request for a security hold from the LAPD on this case on September 15th of this year. So, which was denied due to insufficient justification to warrant the hold. See, like I said, they were able to squash that request, okay, for a security hold, but then now it happened. They were successful this time. Like I said, why? And here's the thing. People are going to run with this. They're going to think that the LAPD is getting paid off by DeForvida, okay, or something sinister like that. That LAPD is corrupt, and that's the reason why they don't want any of this information out. You see what I'm saying? Like, people are going to be running amok with this for sure. Okay, the department understands the public interest in the case and remains committed to transparency when possible. Information will be available once the court order is lifted. For questions about the court order, timeline, and law enforcement investigation into this demise, please contact the LAPD. They're like, my name is Bennett and I ain't in it. I am just following the rules. I am just following court orders. I can't say nothing to y'all. Sorry. God bless you. Good night. Ain't that interesting, right? So now, very interesting. We got a few things that we got to look into. Okay, so we got SF Investigates. He's been putting out quite a few things. He's had a few things to say about all of this. Of course, he's been someone who was hired by the owner of the actual house, which, from my understanding, the house is back on the market now. Okay, so I guess it's not a crime scene or considered a crime scene anymore. But the owner of that mansion that David was staying in was hired by SF Investigates, right? And now he's been deep diving, and there's been all kinds of information that he's been putting out. One thing is for sure, there's some things that he's been speaking out, talking about, and he's like, this doesn't make any sense. Here's one of them. He says, I'm not going to use anyone's names, okay? But it will probably be obvious what I'm referring to. If that violates anything and someone feels I need to be arrested, then honestly, being locked up without a phone and a computer sounds like a dream vacation right now. So that is fine with me. Freezing a body completely halts the decomposition process. That's a part that is true. All right. That's the whole thing that we talked about in the last show, right? It freezes the liquid inside the tissues and prevents bacteria from spreading, which is required for decomposition. There are people in Mount Everest who have been found above ground or who have been above ground for decades and are still preserved. He's got a point there. In fact, I saw just the other day, somebody's body was found. And the body was there for a considerable amount of time. He was considered missing because he was climbing a mountain. And then, of course, his remains were actually found on that mountain, on the side of that mountain. And his body, nothing changed because it was just frozen solid. So that is true, okay? Morgues use refrigeration to slow decomposition for this exact reason. Saying a pathologist cannot make a determination because a body was frozen is completely out of touch with basic science. An ME, medical examiner, would prefer for a body to be immediately frozen because it becomes a time capsule. So, what I was saying before, I was like, wouldn't that preserve any evidence, if any, if she was frozen? When they say, I mean, of course, we're hearing from TMZ, and that's the problem, right? The TMZ put out the thing saying that she was frozen, right? Or partially frozen, and that the medical examiner would have to come out and say that her cause of demise would be undetermined because of how badly decomposed and how badly destroyed her body was, right? Okay. But if she was even if she was partially frozen, there's still remnants that would still be there. You see what I'm saying? Still evidence, still there. Then he also said something else that I thought was interesting. Here it is. He says, medical students trained for surgery on cadavers. Bodies are routinely frozen and thawed for educational and surgical training. I screenshot and attached messages from two medical professionals discussing the process of moving a body from a -4-degree freezer to a 39-degree refrigerator, and the body was fully thawed in 4 whole days. So, like I was saying before, doesn't make any sense that she would be in there, and if she was even in there for several days, her body would thoroughly be thawed out. There's no way that she would just be partially frozen. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. It's not like this was like they were in Denver. You see what I'm saying? Where the temperature, may change. Some days it's hot, some days it's cold, all that stuff. It doesn't matter, right? This is summertime. August, September. In a black on black Tesla. She was getting, I hate to say it like that, but she was getting cooked, y'all. Okay? She was getting cooked. If you really think about it, she was in a mother-loving crock pot. Oh, dear God. Yeah. Think about that. She was in a slow cooker. If not a slow cooker, but it was set on high for all you cooks out there. All right? Think about that for a second. So if she was in there for that long, shoot, hate to say this, I'm going to say it though. Meat was falling off the bone. Ugh, that's so disturbing. Think about that for a second. She was in a cooker. And this was for several days, though. Okay? Several days, several weeks. If the timeline is correct. Because the timeline keeps changing. Like I said, it goes here, it goes there. She was gone, in August, and no, she wasn't. And it's been all over the place. All right? This doggone timeline. Hamburger. So let's see. Let me just repeat this again. Sorry for saying it again if I didn't read this, but I'm going to say it again. Another professional notes that a fully deep frozen body will thaw within 48 to 72 hours when done in a controlled setting, not in a hot trunk. So how could a body still be partially frozen after sitting in a frunk for months? That's what I'd like to know too. So if you want to change the timeline now, fine. Let us say a body was placed there on the day the parking enforcement officer first ticketed the vehicle. We know from tire chalking that the car never moved. That is 13 to 14 days before the body was found in the Tesla's frunk. So people actually believe TMZ when they say the body was still partially frozen when it arrived at the medical examiner's office. What the actual F? Right now, the choice is between science and TMZ. Yeah. And it is shocking how many people are choosing TMZ. This is the same outlet that published breaking news today saying that the house on Doheny has a refrigerator and a freezer in the kitchen. Yeah, I just said that. I just talked about that. And I just showed you guys that. It is pretty ridiculous that they're like, oh my gosh, stop the presses. Stop the presses, everybody. A house, like every other house, has a refrigerator with a freezer in it. Holy God. Get ready, everybody. We found the freezer, which makes no sense because they said that they believed that she was in a freezer in Santa Barbara. So why is the freezer suddenly moved to the Hollywood Hills? Again, it goes against what they said before. why would he drive out in the middle of the night to Santa Barbara, to a remote area, stay there for several hours, and then come back home? Could it literally just be that he went out there to get some booty? Think about that for a second. What if it was just a glorified booty call and he went out there to do that? Or he went out there to party and that's it. And then he came back several hours later. That's still a possibility too. Or how about this? Let's not forget this. What if what they told us about the Tesla going out to Santa Barbara in this remote area in Tesla, in the remote area in Santa Barbara, what if that's not even true? What if that's a fugazi as well? Think about it, me loves. Think about it. Does it make, now that we hear all this information, like I said, not here trying to go in on TMZ. I'm not. I'm really trying not to. It just aggravates me when we want as much accurate information as best as possible, and then we start hearing even local PD that are spearheading this investigation, the main person spearheading the investigation to begin with in the LAPD, the main source, the horse's mouth, is now turning out to say TMZ is just making stuff up, or their source is just making crap up, making up stories for the sake of getting a click or two. And like I said, I mean, even so, I've been looking around trying to find out just to see if there's any more, if they've gone on to TMZ to be like, okay, you know, our bad. remember a couple of days ago when we said that kind of crap. That was crazy. Yeah, we didn't mean that. Yeah, our bad. We haven't even heard that. We haven't heard anything from them. You know, in fact, I'm wondering, hold on, before we go into some other video clicks, let me see something. I want to see something real quick. Okay. Oh, and by the way, everybody, don't eat Campbell's soup no more. Yeah, just don't eat it anymore. Just don't eat it. Yeah, it's kind of crappy. It's kind of crappy. Just terrible, terrible news, y'all. Okay. Yeah, this is still up. We got
the Celeste Rivas death. TMZ has learned that her body had been frozen, and when it was found, it was still partially frozen in the back of David's car, and it was in such bad condition that we are told the medical examiner may never be able to establish the cause of death. So here's what we know. When the body was found, it was in terrible condition. It had been decapitated. The torso was intact. The limbs had been removed and they were cut up severely. The body was partially frozen in the trunk. And this is really important because remember, the body had been sitting there for days.
So again, remember we even talked about this. I was like, wait, what happened? Why can't they say what? That don't make no sense. You mean to tell me that it was partially, how would it be partially frozen if it was even in there for several days in the heat? And I'm like, okay, maybe, you know, temperatures change. Maybe it's shading, you know, maybe a tree is over it, but it's still heat. You see what I'm saying? There's still heat in the area. And then you got a black on black car. And they're sitting there still saying that this car was able to somewhat refrigerate Celeste's body. It doesn't make sense. You know what I'm saying? You know, even so, doesn't matter if you're in like the most like temperamental seasonal area, okay? You know for a fact that if it's summertime, and if you like, say you're thirsty, you go, you pick yourself up a Coke, right? You're driving around with this Coke, and it's just refrigerated from the gas station or wherever you picked it up. All right, energy drink, Coke, soda, whatever, water, even, right? You're thirsty, all that. Say that you're walking into a place and you're going, okay, you can't bring the soda with you, right, or that drink with you, so you go, I'm just leaving it in the car, and it's summertime. Let's not forget that. And I don't care if your car is white on white. All right. I don't care if you got peanut butter interior. All right. And the exterior is white as hell. And it's just reflecting light. Okay. Can't look like it just came from heaven. Okay. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. You leave that drink in the car. You leave for say 30, 40 minutes and you come back. That drink ain't cold no more. It's hot. You're hoping for it to be still cold. You're like, oh, please be cold. Nope. Frozen. Oh, no, not frozen. I'm sorry. Hot. It's hot. It's not going to be what it was when you bought it, right? Because it's been sitting in there. So again, like I said, imagine a body. And imagine it being there for several days, if not several weeks. You really mean to tell me that this body is going to just be partially frozen? No frozen anything. Doesn't matter how deeply frozen it was frozen for. There's no way that it's not going to thaw out in the blazing summer LA heat. There's no way. There's no earthly way. But let's take a quick trip down memory lane. Let's just take this trip down memory lane.
Before it was finally impounded and then the body discovered. And it was still, the body parts were still partially frozen. So we are told that when the body first went to the medical examiner's office in early September, it was listed as an apparent homicide, but that was just from what seemed obvious, that the body was cut up into pieces. The medical examiner is having a really tough time right now trying to figure out what the cause of death was. We are told it is likely the cause of death will go undetermined.
Now, here's the thing. You heard that too, right? He said it's going to come out undetermined. Are we sure about that? We just heard from the medical examiner office basically saying, like, we want to put this information out, everybody, but LAPD is telling us no, 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 no. Does that mean that the medical examiner's office has a diagnosis? Does it mean that? Think about that for a second, y'all. Come on now. Medical examiner's office, we just saw that statement. And they're like, yo, LAPD is stopping us from putting out this information. What the actual F, right? Why? And now he's sitting here saying that medical examiners are saying that it's going to come out undetermined. That their diagnosis is going to be because the body was so badly just jacked up that they will not be able to come out with some sort of diagnosis of how she passed away. What is actually true and what is not? I mean, obviously, we are hearing from the horse's mouth, from the medical examiner's office, basically saying, we have information, but they're stopping us from giving out that information. That part is weird, but this part is weird too. We're hearing something that's not entirely true. Or actually not entirely not true. She was not half. It's not like she was half thought out. They said that her head was removed from her body. That's not true at all either. We don't have to listen to that whole doggone thing. You heard it. That's weird. Now, there is more. Uno momento, por favor. Oops. Went too far. Hold on. And this is why it frustrates me, because obviously we all want, and even my dogs are frustrated about this. They're catching the energy. All right. Everyone is frustrated about this because, like I said, as much as we are trying, as much as all of us are trying, at least myself. All right. Okay. And I'm not perfect either. I mean, no news outlet, no YouTuber or anything like that is going to be perfect. All right. None of them. Okay. Even the best of the best make mistakes. But one thing is for sure, I have tried my damnedest to stay stay in the giving just the facts and not just going off the rails of like, let's listen to every single song by DeForvida and let's analyze every single syllable that comes out of his mouth lyrically in these songs. And I get it. Y'all can do that all day long if you want to. And there may be clues. There may be, I don't know, Easter eggs, for lack of a better term, in his music. But who got time for that? Ain't nobody got time for that, right? That's just stirring the pot to just add more drama to the situation, right? And one thing is for sure, we have tried, at least myself, to sit back and just get the facts, right? So if you notice, there have been a few sprinklings of information about Celeste and David and all that, but it was small, very small bits of information. So I'm like, all right, I'm just going to let it do what it do. Like I'm going to wait until we got some bombshell information. Only until then, you notice that we've been talking about the Epsteins and the Charlie Kirk stuff and all that's been going crazy. Okay. Because I want solid evidence, solid information. But then when you got TMZ, which, like I said, sometimes they get their stuff right and sometimes they don't. It's kind of like the whole thing I've said about Candace Owens. They're like a broken clock too. Sometimes they, a broken clock can be right 2 times a day. And I feel like more than not, they have their stuff on point. But then at the same time, there's moments like this that don't look so great, right? That kind of take away their credibility from this situation, right? Now, here's the thing. Listen, Laura's basically saying, I can't believe you trust in the LAPD. They won't let the ME release stuff, but yet they'll come out and say the body wasn't frozen. The LAPD is trying to cover their tracks. I don't believe them. Now, here's a possibility. We talked about this earlier. And I'm glad you said this, Laura, right? Because, this is your opinion and that's totally okay. But here's the thing. Maybe the LAPD is lying. But why would they lie? Because they don't like TMZ? You realize that at the end of the day, whenever this whole story, this whole case unfolds, and we get all the information and we actually find out if that's us waiting for trial or before someone gets arrested or while somebody gets arrested, you realize that if that particular captain is caught in a lie, that's his job on the line. Solely because he has a bone to pick with TMZ? Think about that. He put his whole life, his whole career, his whole livelihood on the line for the likes of TMZ. That doesn't make sense. To me, it doesn't. Now, don't get me wrong. There are all kinds of corrupt cops everywhere. All right. In every department throughout the entire country, if not in the entire world. But at this particular moment, with this guy out here still free and everyone's waiting for his actual arrest to actually happen, why would LAPD go out of their way to go against what TMZ has been giving out? Now, I agree with what SF Investigate said. It makes no earthly sense for her body to be inside that car for several days, if not several days, several weeks, and her body only be partially thawed out. It just doesn't make any sense. One thing is for sure, they did say that her body was in pieces. That's at least what we've heard from other sources, from other media sources, right? But the fact that they are saying that she was partially frozen is wild. That would mean that she was staying in a place, like the car was staying in a very, very cold place, which doesn't make sense to me. Since the car was sitting out there in that road for several days. So it doesn't make sense, especially with the LA heat. So, yes, I think cops can lie. All right. I think LAPD could lie. We could still have that on the table. But do we really have to sit here and think that we're going to take, I'm sorry to say this, but we're going to take TMZ as fact and not LAPD? Not from the horse's mouth? And if you notice, he didn't say much else afterwards. The only thing he said is these two things are not true. That her head was removed from her body and that she was partially frozen. He said those things are not correct at all. And I guess he kept it moving, right? So again, that's why we have to tread lightly, keep our eyes on these certain cases, and of course, gather as much information as we can. One thing we can go back to is we resort back to the basics. We go back to the original case and the original start of the story, start of this case. Number one, we have a 14-year-old girl that was missing, and now she was found inside of a frunk of a Tesla in a tow lot. That car was owned by David. One thing is for sure, her body was badly decomposed when found in a bag inside this frunk of this Tesla. Those things are for sure. We also know that the timeline may go back a little bit, okay? The timeline of how she may have passed away could be as far back as January, which I truly think that's the case. I don't think that her body just completely deteriorated that quickly sitting in that car for the several weeks or several days that she was in that frunk. I just don't. But like I said, we go back to the basics if that's the case. If it's like, I don't believe LAPD, they just straight up lies. Okay, well, let's go back to what they have given us. 14-year-old girl found unalive in the front. David's the owner. That's all we need to know. That's all we need to know. We don't need to hear anything about analyzing his songs and all that. You remember, there's a whole second Celeste. Let's not forget that. Remember, there was a whole thing where they may have seen her, Celeste, the real Celeste, at a concert of David's, right? In August, around August time, only to find out that that wasn't really her. So like I said, there is so much information flying out the gate, which I totally get because everyone's very passionate about this and everybody wants to solve this case. That's the thing. That's the whole reason why everyone's so sucked into the true crime, into a true crime case. They want to be the one who solves the case. Who done it, right? Well, I'll tell you who done it. In my personal opinion, he did this. And he had help with somebody else. But again, LAPD did not confirm that from what we heard, anything about another person helping him. We heard that from TMZ first. And then that information spread like wildfire. Hold on. I want to remind you of that. Hold up. We got that too. This is why I love YouTube. Because we can get this information. Hold on. Where the heck did it go? There it is.
Now, I'm also told that logic is not a big part of this case because a lot of it doesn't make sense just in terms of everything that happened. I want to talk about the mystery still in this David investigation. We broke the story yesterday that David is viewed as a suspect in the death of Celeste Rivas. The big mystery centers around something that we have now confirmed absolutely as true, that the LAPD has some tracking information where they claim that David took this mysterious trip to a very remote area of Santa Barbara County in the middle of the night in the spring of 2025.
Okay, first off, did we hear LAPD chief or captain say that they had any information of that at all? Remember, they're the ones who broke the news first. You realize, like, I want to point, the reason why I'm pointing this out is that it's very important to know, especially after you hear LAPD go, nah, bro, her head was completely attached to her body. And no, she wasn't frozen. The hell's wrong with you? That's literally impossible. That's literally impossible. Scientifically, it would not make any sense. So you heard that, right? Right? You heard that, right? You heard that from this guy. You heard that from TMZ. And then it went woof like wildfire. Because of course we want to trust this information. I have it all the way up. I don't know why this one's so quiet. Okay? Well, of course we want to trust this information. We want to trust this source. But now I'm wondering if the Tesla driving out to Santa Barbara, if that's even accurate or if that's even true. But let's continue.
Now, that is months before the body was discovered in Los Angeles in a trunk. I don't think it's hard to connect the dots. And he stayed there, by the way, for several hours. So I don't think it's hard to connect the dots that one of the things they seem to be looking at is whether Celeste was killed then and he buried the body there or left the body there in some way. If he did that, then the question would be, why would somebody, whether it would be him or somebody else, remove the body from Santa Barbara County, which is 100 miles away from LA, and bring it to Los Angeles, and then put it and leave it in a trunk on a well-traveled street, only to be found after the car was abandoned?
That's one thing that I think we all want to know. Not about him driving out to Santa Barbara, because now I'm side-eyeing that information too. I'm sorry, it's coming from them. And law enforcement just said, LAPD, horse's mouth themselves said, nah, bro, nah, she was not thawing out and her head was completely connected to her body. So I don't know what they're talking about, but they never confirmed whether or not this tracking of him driving out several months ago before her body was found out to Santa Barbara. We have not heard any confirmation about that from any LAPD at all, from what I've heard. But like I said, we are trusting this as a solid source, as a solid piece of information. Totally understandable. I get it until now. Now they gave out huge information. You just saw it a second ago. They said, hey, body was not thoroughly thawed out. Head was removed from body. Big deals. Huge big deals. And also medical examiner office is going to come out and say that her cause of demise is undetermined because of how severely damaged her body was. None of that is confirmed. So instantly I go, wait a second. Did he really drive out to Santa Barbara in the middle of the night for several hours and then come back? Is that true or not? Now I question this too. Like I said, it starts going back. It's like a domino effect.
That's the part that doesn't make sense. And I think that's, at least what I'm hearing, that's something the LAPD is, they have some theory about if the body was buried in Santa Barbara County or left in Santa Barbara County in some remote area, how it came back to Los Angeles. And that may also explain why we are told the LAPD believes that David would have had help. And now I don't know whether that help would be taking the body from Santa Barbara back to LA. I don't know. But that to me is the logical way of connecting the dots. Now,
again, then we start asking questions about, did he really have a partner? Is that 110% correct? Because we heard it from here first. And then it spread. That information spread. Is that accurate or is that inaccurate? That's the thing that I think a lot of us want to know. What is the truth? What is not the truth? Remember, there were rumors running around here saying that she was pregnant. There were rumors running around here saying that she was in some other relationship with another person. And that's why David got mad. And that's why she's gone, right? That's why she has been unalived and all that. There's been nothing but theories after theories after theories, and we haven't heard much from 5-0. Like I said, idle minds is the conspirators' plaything, okay? Idle minds are the conspirator plaything. When we don't have information, when we don't have enough, our minds run amok. And we are very imaginative mother lovers, okay? We are very imaginative, okay? But then when we get some information, we eat it up. And then we conceal it, we hold on to it like it's, because we're ravenous, we're hungry, and we want the information, right? And then we get a little nugget of information, and then we find out it's nothing but air. Now, like I said, we could look at LAPD and side-eye them as well and say they must be lying to us. This is one big old fugazi. This is one big old front. It's all fake news. We could literally do that if we wanted to, right? But at the same time, we have a choice. We either take TMZ for what they said as proof, as evidence, as factual information, or we listen to the horse's mouth that's actually doing the investigation themselves and take what they're saying at face value. But that's a choice I leave up to you guys if you feel some type of way about the LAPD, okay? And I get why most will feel some type of way about the LAPD. I get it. Trust me, I get it. Because even them not moving, not letting medical examiner release information about the cause of demise and information revolving around Celeste Rivas Hernandez's demise, that's suspect as hell as well. Let's keep it a bean. But let's go over here to Banfield. She got some things to say. They talk about this as well. Let's get into it.
This weekend, there was bombshell reporting that Celeste Rivas Hernandez's body had likely been frozen. She's the young runaway whose boyfriend, singer David, is much older, and in whose Tesla trunk her remains were discovered. Sources told several outlets that Celeste had been decapitated and that her limbs had been removed from her torso, cut into pieces, and then apparently stored in a freezer. But tonight, the captain of the Robbery Homicide Division of the LAPD is telling People magazine those reports aren't true. Captain Scott Williams tells People that Celeste was not frozen and that, quote, Celeste was not decapitated. The whole frozen thing doesn't even make sense. Her body was in the car for weeks, he said. And he added, even if she had been frozen solid when she was put in the car, which there is no evidence to suggest she was, 5 or more weeks in the trunk of a car in sweltering heat in the middle of summer would not have resulted in a partially frozen body being discovered on September the 8th, end quote. Tonight, the LA Medical Examiner's Office, the people who did the autopsy on Celeste, say that they're officially being barred by court order from saying anything about her death. And it was the LAPD that asked the court to do that. And if you find that outrageous, as I do, the ME is not thrilled about it either. The LAPD requested what's called a security hold, and a judge okayed it. But the ME says a security hold is virtually unheard of in other counties, and counter to the mission of what it says is full transparency at the ME's office. So what don't the police want us to know? All I can tell you is that the gag order coincides with the explosive reporting about the whole frozen stuff. Last week, we told you that David is now officially considered a suspect. TMZ reporting that the police have their eyes, though, on a second suspect as well, who may have, quote, been involved before, during, and after Celeste's death, end quote. The outlet says police are focusing on a quick trip in the middle of the night to a remote location in Santa Barbara County that was done back in spring. TMZ says police are focusing on that location as possibly being where Celeste was killed. Remember, Celeste was discovered September 8th, and only then because of a terrible smell coming from the trunk of that Tesla parked just around the block from David's mansion. Joining me now is Michelle Dupree, a retired forensic pathologist, former medical examiner, and friend of the show. Dr. Dupree, thanks for being on. I had so many questions when I heard this report. First and foremost, you're not going to get partially frozen body parts at the ME's office if there was a stench coming from the trunk. That would have been a long thawed, long decomposing body. But I do want to ask you if there might be some partial truth to this, that possibly those body parts had been frozen long ago and then had decomposed in the back of the trunk. if that part might be true, what does that do to a medical examiner trying to determine what happened with this body that they've received? What was the cause of death? Would freezing do something to that body?
Absolutely, freezing would. And it is possible that the body was frozen, and then, of course, after 5 weeks would not be frozen when found. But freezing actually damages the cells. It also actually speeds up decomposition once it starts to thaw. Anything that is blunt trauma, a gunshot wound, sharp force injuries, something like that, that would still be available. We would still see that at the autopsy. But anything that might be subtle, such as strangulation or something of that nature, would be much, much more difficult if the body had been frozen. And again, of course, once it's so badly decomposed.
I've got 5 seconds left. We had so much breaking news off the top of this program. I just have to ask you how unusual this is that the LAPD asked a court to block the medical examiner from releasing any details.
It's very unusual. Transparency is part of it, but it is not unheard of. If they really think it's going to affect the investigation, then it's warranted.
I mean, the only other thing I could think of is the reason why that they were holding this information or withholding information from the public is because they're hot on somebody's trail. Like they're hot on somebody big time, and they don't want anybody doing something like really bad or you know, dangerous, if that makes any sense. That's the only thing I can think of, because it doesn't make any earthly sense that that this would happen in this way, right? That they would just go, okay, her head wasn't removed from her body. She wasn't partially frozen. So all that's fake news, but we're not going to give you guys any information as well. It just seems a little bit weird, don't you think?
Dr. Dupree, I'll have to have you back on when I've got more minutes for us, because I have so many questions for you. Thank you for this tonight.
Again, yeah, you know, like she says, it's not uncalled for. It's not out of pocket. It's not something that's a strange thing. But at the same time, it is, to me, I find it strange. I'm going to keep it real with y'all. I find it strange. You know, we're getting closer and closer to getting information. We're getting closer and closer to getting proof, right? To getting facts. And then suddenly out of nowhere, sorry, let's stop, right? That's just weird. In my personal opinion, that's weird. But let me get some of you guys' super chats here really quick. Angel Lynn, thank you so much. Angel, appreciate it. Thank you so much. Mr. Pascal, wonderful mods in chat. Hello to you as well. Thank you so much for the love. I really appreciate it. Let's see. Fly Gal, thank you so much for being a member for over a year. Man, that means a lot. That really means a lot. Thank you so much. Happy holidays to you too. Happy holidays to every single last one of y'all. You know what I'm saying? Hopefully it's a nice, relaxing weekend, a long, relaxing weekend for you guys. Obviously, I'll be working. That's just how it is, okay? Because there's still, if there's things going on, we're going to talk about it. You know what I mean? We can't not talk about those things for sure, all right? Ree, thank you so much for the love and gifting. One membership. Thank you so much. Welcome to the family. You new member, I'm sorry. And of course, like a lot of you guys have become, please hit that join button down below and become a member of the family. That'll be greatly, greatly appreciated. But guys, I mean, what say you on this? You know what I mean? Like, to me, this is some pretty wild stuff, right? This is some pretty wild stuff. This is, and it's heartbreaking. In my personal opinion, this is very heartbreaking. The reason why I say that this is heartbreaking is because, let's be real. We all want the truth. We all want transparency. We all want the bad guy or bad guys, whoever did this, brought to justice. But these people are still out here free. And that person, one of them, I truly believe is David. David has something to do with this. Whether or not he is the one who called the shot, or if something bad, you know what I mean? Or if somebody else did it, or if he did it with his own hand. I mean, you know, these are all very important things, because you got to remember, that means that we have a potential of one or two or more people, one or two or more dangerous people out here in the public. They are a danger to society. They are a danger to these people, to the public, and they need to be brought to justice as soon as possible. Now, they say the medical examiner not getting And now putting out this information is, at least that from that expert, putting in their commentary on Banfield. So they're saying that it's not uncalled for. It's not out of pocket, but I kind of feel like it is out of pocket, right? But again, I'm hoping and trusting that LAPD is doing everything in the best possible way to get the truth out there. And of course, to bring justice for Celeste, because everybody in her life, let's think about that for a second. Here's a reality. Everybody in Celeste's life failed her. Everyone from David all the way to her parents, etc. I said it because let's be real. She was constantly running away. Why? And then it's like they just didn't care anymore, right? And whoever took her life, David, whether it's by David's hands or not, he allowed this to continue to be what it is. It was in a car that he owned, that he did not report stolen or anything of that sort. This is a missing 14-year-old girl that he had very close ties with, romantic relationship with, and he did nothing about bringing justice for her if he even knew that something happened to her. And also on top of that, if you really think about it, if she had run away, or like say she ran away to him, right? Ran into his arms in the Hollywood Hills, ran to him. They had a relationship. They did their stuff, whatever it may be. Then she goes missing and he never opens the front trunk of his Tesla ever, right? Which is absolutely insane. Just ride with me with this, okay? Wouldn't he still be wanting to know where she is? Let's just say he didn't have anything to do with this. Wouldn't you go out of your way? She hasn't been seen in several months. Wouldn't you go, or several weeks at least, wouldn't you go out of your way to try to find the person that you care for? The person that you consider at least a friend? She just disappears. You don't see her on Discord. She ain't messaging you on Instagram or anything, or text messaging you, or even giving you a phone call. You're not even doing FaceTime with that friend that person that you used to be, very intimate with. Aren't you going to worry and want to know where she is? Wouldn't you go and try to find her? Wouldn't you go to the police and say, hey, I'm trying to find her. I don't know where she is. What happened to her? So on and so forth. You see what I'm saying? So again, it just doesn't make any earthly sense. Why would he just sit idly by while her body is sitting in that trunk? He is as guilty as anybody else. He is more guilty than I can even fathom, okay? Whether or not he is the one who did the killing blow or not, okay? At the end of the day, this guy should have been locked up, and that's the part that I'm passionate about. Getting the information, getting the right information, and of course, getting this person and the other people that may have their hand at taking this girl's life to justice as soon as possible. But anyway, guys, that is the show. I appreciate all y'all for being here. Really means a lot. Make sure, all right, do me a solid, okay? Hit that like button down below. Please and thank you. All right? Please and thank you. Hit that like button down below. Make sure you hit that follow button if you're watching on these other platforms, okay? Hit that subscribe button here on my YouTube channel. Subscribe. Go over to my second channel, The Pascal Show Clips and Pascal Raw. Subscribe to all those channels, please and thank you, okay? Hit that join button down below. Become a member. Check out my Patreon. Of course, check out PascalMerch.com. We got some really great stuff over there. Go check it out. Okay, guys? But anyway, it is time to get going. Much love to you guys. Stay safe out there. And if there's any updates in this, solid updates about this, we will be talking about it very, very soon. And I'm wondering if TMZ is ever going to come out with anything, at least an apology or something. Well, we'll see what happens. Anyway, guys, it's time to get going. Be good to yourselves. Be good to one another. This is The Pascal Show. Bye.